One of the most frequently asked questions I get right now is how can I get started with wholesale or retail with selling on Amazon? And in today's video, I'm going to be tackling that question as well as giving you guys some actionable steps you can take by the end of the video. Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kris McCauley. I've been selling online almost 10 years and I've been selling full-time for just under 2. And on this channel, I share what I know, what I'm doing, as well as networking with like-minded individuals in my business. Now, before I go ahead and dive into today's topic, I do want to say a few things. I do consultation calls and I will be giving away a free 30-minute call. Next video, all you have to do is like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and comment in the description below where you are from. And secondly, I want to say I was posting less frequently a couple of months before that. And the whole reason for that is I've been doing the steps in this video 120%, as well as building out another company, which I'll be sharing with you guys in the upcoming weeks. But now that things are set in place, I can now funnel some of that energy back into YouTube. Now let's go ahead and talk about how to get started with wholesale or retail with selling on Amazon. And the first step I'm going to say is the same whether you're starting with $200 or you're starting with $100,000. I'm going to say the exact same thing. And that's going to be to start small, meaning either to start with online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, or finding a wholesale supplier that has a $200 to $300 minimum dollar spend. The reason for this is because I don't care if you've watched all of my YouTube videos, if you've watched hundreds of YouTube videos and taken even 1 or 2 courses, it does not matter. You're probably going to make some kind of mistake that you will not foresee. And it's better to make that on a very small purchase rather than a large one, because it will be a magnified dollar amount lost. And the reason why I prefer the first few things I talked about, online arbitrage or retail arbitrage, is because there's literally no risk. You can return these items back to the store, sometimes even over a year after they were purchased. So that means that if you buy these items from the retailer, let's say Walmart, you send them into Amazon, let's say something happens to where they're not profitable anymore, you can withdraw them from Amazon. Now, there is a penalty for that. You will have to pay a dollar amount for that, but then you can end up just returning them to the store and get your money back. So you're going to be out very little amount of money. That's the reason why I prefer that. But once you start making some good purchasing decisions, then you can move on to the next steps, which I'm going to share. And just to reiterate, guys, the first thing in any business with what you're doing is you want to start making money before you start worrying about how do I collect taxes or what LLC do I need. The most important thing in anything is start incurring a profit and worry about that stuff later. So let's go ahead and talk about the first step you're going to need to get into wholesale. And that's going to be establishing a seller permit or business license in your state. Now, these terms can be interchangeable for some states, and in other states, they're completely different things. But just Google seller permit in whatever state you're in, and it will take you to, I believe, the Secretary of State. You can sign up there. It costs very little money and you can have it within 48 hours. That's the first thing you're going to need. The second step before you go ahead and start contacting wholesalers is figure out what niche you want to be in. And this is really important. So let's say I want to start selling coffee. That's going to be how I'm going to structure my website. It's going to be built around coffee. My brand name is going to be built around coffee. Everything will be built around that. And this leads me into my next step, is going to be to build out a professional website. Now, this doesn't have to be super expensive. I believe I paid, with my server, domain name, and my website being built, I believe I paid $150 to $200 and it looks great. And I've had great success with it. And that's really all you need, but don't cheap out. For my web developer, I went to Fiverr.com. I do have an affiliate link to Fiverr in the description below that I believe you get $20 off your first purchase. And a lot of people say bad things about Fiverr. If you filter through some of the overpriced gigs and some of the underqualified people on there, you can definitely find some really great people on that site. Now, one more thing I want to say about the website really quick is I'm not actually selling anything on my website. You can actually sell items on your website. I know some people come to me, they're like, look, I'm selling this, I'm selling that. For me, I just don't think it looks professional. I don't want to sell anything. I'm structuring my website around my niches, around my brands that I've worked with, more so as references, and just letting suppliers know when they look at it that I know what I'm doing, I'm experienced, and I'm here to be an asset and not a liability. That's how I'm positioning myself. So once you lay down that groundwork, you're going to be able to contact suppliers now. Now, I will say that there are a few other things that you could have that may help you, such as a business phone, maybe a warehouse, or some kind of business address. And there's a few other things as well, but they're not mandatory. Even a website technically isn't mandatory. I really think it is. And in this day and age, I really do. Now you're ready to actually reach out to suppliers. And I'm going to give you guys 4 ways you can find suppliers and reach out to them, and you can start contacting them by the end of this video. So the first one is just Google. I know this sounds super basic, but just Google brands or in your category that you want to look for. So let's say I'm in sports and outdoors and I know that Wilson sells really well on Amazon. Maybe you're Googling Wilson and contacting them that way. Maybe you're just Googling sporting and goods liquidators or distributors. I'm not here to tell you what to Google. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but it is my favorite place to find suppliers. That's my favorite place. Now, the second place you can find suppliers is just in your local area. So just Google maybe distributors of whatever brands or categories you're in and see if there's anyone in your local area. Bring in some business cards. First, call them up and just see are they even open to meeting you, and then bring some business cards and just go meet them. That's a good way to do it. I personally haven't done it, but I know people who have, especially if you're around bigger cities. I highly recommend checking this out. Now, the next way you can do this is by going to Wholesale Databases. Now, I have talked about one on my channel, wholesalecentral.com. There's SaleWho, there's Thomas.net, there's a bunch of other ones. And these are my least favorite ways to actually contact suppliers. You can definitely find some businesses on here, but I honestly think your best bet is to do the other 3 methods I've talked about. And the last method I want to talk about is actually going to a trade show. Now, trade shows, there are vendors there, and usually they're cutting deals, and there's just a lot going on. I actually went to a trade show July 30th. It was the ASD trade show in Vegas, and I was honestly really disappointed. The reason I was disappointed is because I think it was too broad. If I were to tell people to go to a trade show again, I would say whatever niche you're in, whatever category you're in, just Google, let's say you're selling pets and supplies. Google pets and supplies trade show or vendor show or something like that, and find one that looks good for you. And I think you're going to have much more luck with that than if you were to just go to a very broad one like the ASD trade show. I'm not discouraging you from going because I learned a ton and I'm really happy I did go, but at the same time, I would never go again. Now, once you have contacted suppliers and you've landed some accounts, now you need to figure out how do I evaluate their products quickly and efficiently, because some of these suppliers have hundreds, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of items, and you're not going to manually go through every one. It's just not going to happen. So you need to find a way to quickly do this. Now, I have talked about a software on my channel that I use. It's Scan Unlimited. I do have a link in the description below. And the reason why this software is great is because if a supplier gives you a spreadsheet, you can quickly filter through the spreadsheet and just see, do they have any great items based on demand, profit, and a bunch of other factors. Now, if some suppliers don't have spreadsheets, some suppliers just have their website, or sometimes they'll even mail you catalogs. And what I do is I will go into Amazon.com. I will type in that brand name. I will then take the Jungle Scout Chrome extension, which I paid, I believe, $200 for at the time. It's a one-time payment. And then I will filter the brand's items based on several different filter criteria. I'll go sales rank, I'll go profit, and I'll go price. And then it will usually give me a handful of items to look for. And then those items I will just look for on their website or in the catalog and just see, are they profitable or not? There are some details in there that I may have skipped over, but this is pretty much it. Now, I'm going to give you guys a few tips and words of advice when approaching these companies. So my first tip is actually approach these as a business. Think of it as you're actually building a brand. You're building a wholesale brand, and you're building out leads, and you're building out a network. and you're not approaching them as an Amazon seller anymore. You're now approaching them as a retailer that wants to buy from them. So figure out, like, maybe there's a problem that they've not yet solved in their business. Ask them, what are they looking for? What do they look for in their clients? And just let them know, maybe you have a large amount of cash you can offer. Maybe you're ready to spend $20K. Let them know up front that you have money that you want to spend, a lot of money. You're just not a $500 a month client. Like, maybe that's a selling factor. I don't know, but that's what you're going to have to call and find out. That's the only way to do it. Now, the second word of advice I have for you is you're going to have to call. There's definitely a lot of work involved. Think of it as a sales job. So if you've never had a sales job, if you're currently unemployed, or let's say you have an extra 20 hours a week, I highly recommend just picking up a sales job, even if it's completely unrelated to e-commerce, because you're going to learn so much from that. Make sure it's in the evening time, not during the 9 to 5 hours, because you're going to have to be contacting these businesses from the 9 to 5 hours. But if you were to take some kind of like telephone job or something like that, make sure it's in the evening time. And just be aware that you're going to be running through a lot of suppliers. I read a book one time called Go for No, and it was just talking about get as many no's as possible, because with no's comes yeses, and that's going to be where you land the clients. So my last word of advice is, if you're running spreadsheets and they're not profitable, think about it like this. If you're a brand new client and they don't know, and let's say they set it up to where you can spend $500 a month, right? And they're going to give you the worst price available. So if you see things that aren't profitable, it's okay. If you've been with someone, let's say you've been with a company and you're spending $20,000 a month with them, I wouldn't want them offering the price that you currently have to new customers. I wouldn't want that, because you've established credibility and you're spending a much larger volume. So when you see their price points, ask them, hey, I'm really interested in this item. What is it going to take to get this % off or this price point? Negotiate. That's all I can say. And contact a lot of suppliers. Yes, it's a lot of work, but trust me, the barrier to entry is going to be worth it when you land that one client, because all it takes is one good business and you can build a 6-figure business around just one really good contact. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out here. I really hope you found some value in this video, and I will definitely see you next time. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I have more videos like this coming out every single week, and I also have a free Facebook group in the description below. See you in there.